Employers ask me all the time, how many reviews is enough? The answer is more. And they say, when can I stop getting reviews? The answer is when you retire. I want everybody pull out your phone. Does everybody have their phone on them? And I want you to type in the amount of revenue that your law firm did in 2020 or the amount that you expect to do in 2021. So just for simple math, I'm gonna say $1 million. Now, I want you to multiply that number by 0.44. This number represents the amount of revenue that you are missing by not having 200 reviews. There's a company out there, they're called Bazaar Voice Network, and they found that when a law firm or any other business gets 200 reviews or more, that they increase revenue by 44%. What I want you to do is that number, I want you to then divide that by 200. That is how much each review is worth to your law firm. Reviews are actually worth money to your law firm, and I promise you they are. Anyone that has a lot of reviews will tell you that they are. Then you will see that getting reviews is not an option. You have to get more reviews. But the first question is, why don't people leave reviews? Who here has asked a client for a review, you've gotten a great result, you ask them for a review, and they say, yes, I would absolutely love to leave you a review. And then they go home and they don't do it. I'm gonna tell you how to overcome that, right? But the number one reason that people don't get reviews is because they don't ask. Like, the reality is, if you don't ask, you won't receive. I said this to an attorney. It's an attorney named Dave. He's from Australia, and he's been practicing for 20 years. He's a criminal defense attorney. He said that he started asking and he got 15 5-star reviews in a single week, right? Now, 15 is not the end all be all, but it's better than nothing. And the reason he didn't have any reviews is because he wasn't asking. Now, the second reason that people don't leave reviews is there's no incentive for them. So the problem is that you're asking somebody to leave you a review and there's literally nothing in it for them, right? So there's a TED Talk by a guy named Derek Sivers. And he has this TED Talk. It's called Never Reveal Your Goals. And the whole point of this is that, let's say you have a goal. Let's say you want to lose weight or quit smoking or train for a marathon. The second that you tell somebody your goal, the second you say, you know what, I've made the commitment, I'm going to quit smoking, right? You tell somebody that, what are they going to say? They're going to say, good for you. That's a great step forward. What happens is your brain is not smart enough to realize that you didn't actually achieve that goal yet. So what happens is, it's a scientific thing, all the endorphins in your brain start firing just as if you had achieved the goal. So you get this great feeling of achieving the goal, making you much less likely to achieve the goal because you've already gotten the feeling of achieving the goal. There's nothing in it for you. And I believe that reviews work the same way. So when you get a great result for a client and you say to the client, would you leave me a review? And the client says, of course, I'd love to leave you a review. Then what happens? They get the social reality in their brain that they've already left you the review. Then they go home and the kids are screaming and they got to cook dinner and they have soccer practice they have to get their other kid to, and all these other things happen. And where do you think your review, leaving your review, falls in the list of their priorities? It's non-existent, right? So if you don't give people an incentive, they're not going to do it. Now, let me ask you a question. If somebody has a negative experience with your law firm, do you think that they have incentive to leave you a review? They have lots of incentive. Their incentive is they get to let the world know of the terrible atrocities that your law firm committed to them by not taking their case or doing whatever it is that you may or may not have done to them, right? So you have to make sure that somebody has incentive, right? And we're gonna talk about how to do that. Another reason people don't leave review is writer's block. You gotta remember, leaving a review is work. A lot of times people don't know what to say. So you have to make it as easy as possible for them, so let them know what to say. So every time I tell clients to leave a review, I always tell them you should always include these 5 questions. Write these down. These are writer-downers, right? The first question is, what was the problem that you had before you came to our law firm? The second question is, why did you pick our firm over all of the other law firms out there? The third question is, what did we do for you? The fourth question is, what were the results? The fifth question is, how did this result impact your life, right? Now, if you get them to answer these 5 questions, then what's going to happen is they are not just gonna leave you a review that says, thanks, they're gonna leave you a review that actually tells a story, right? Now, that's important for a few reasons. The first reason is right now, Google is removing reviews left and right for no particular reason. Has anyone had a Google review not post recently? It's just what's happening right now, right? So Google's getting much more particular about the reviews that they actually post, right? So if they have a better review, it's more likely to stick. The second thing is that when someone goes to your website or somebody clicks on your Google My Business profile, they're actually going to read a story. People relate to stories much better than just someone saying thanks, right? And the other cool part about that is when they tell a story, odds are when you get enough reviews, you're going to have stories that the reader is going to find a story that's the exact same situation that they are currently in when they're reading the review, trying to figure out if you're the right law firm for them, right? The other cool thing about it is that it will actually make you rank higher in Google. Did anybody know that reviews can actually make you rank higher in Google? So Google My Business, and that's the maps, has 3 things that they rely on when they are determining if you are going to rank, like who they're going to rank. The first thing is proximity to the searcher. How far away are you from the person who's doing the search? You can't really do anything about that, right? But the second is prominence. Prominence is how prominent is your business on the internet. This is why internet marketing companies are always going to ask you to update as many profiles as possible, like FindLaw and Avvo and Better Business Bureau and Yelp and all these other ones, Facebook, all that stuff, right? The third one is relevancy. And relevancy is what is impacted by reviews. Google wants to return the most relevant results for a search. So when your keywords have words, phrases, synonyms, keywords in them themselves, when your reviews have words, phrases, synonyms, then Google is going to look at that and they're going to say, oh, okay, well, this is clearly related to whatever the person just searched for, and you're going to rank higher, right? So that is one of the very, very important ways. It's one of the reasons that you should always send the questions. And then finally, the final thing is that it's actually going to get them to write the review because now they know what to write about. And what I do when I always tell clients, I say, when you send the email, send an email that says, we find that the best reviews, a lot of times people want to leave people want to leave reviews, but they don't know exactly what to say. So we find that the best reviews answer the following questions. And then you list those 5 questions, and they're gonna do that every single time. So that's one of the biggest things. Now, another reason that people don't leave reviews is they don't have a reason themselves. So now here's what's interesting. There was a study done back in the 70s by a Harvard social psychologist named Ellen Langer, right? She wanted to find out what makes people do things that they do. So what she did is she took a stack of papers and, stacked just like this, and she went to the library at Harvard. And she wanted to see what would allow people to let her cut in line. So she went to the front of the line, she had a stack of papers, and she was like, hey, listen, I'm late for class. I just have a couple copies. Can I jump to the front of the line and make some copies, right? So when she did that, she was allowed to cut in line 94% of the time. But she gave a really good excuse. She said, I'm late for class, right? So the next time she went up, she gave a little bit of a weaker excuse. She said, hey, I'm in a rush. Can I just cut in line? I just got to make some copies. And when she did that, she was allowed to cut in line 90% of the time. And then she gave a really, really weak excuse. She went to the front of the line, and it was a long line. She says, hey, listen, can I cut in the front of the line? I just have to make some copies. And it was a terrible excuse. Every single person standing in line had to make copies, but she was still allowed to cut in line 90% of the time. So at this point, she's just kind of like, well, I guess if you just ask people, they will let you cut in line. So she tried that. So you basically just went to the front of the line one last time and said, hey, can I just cut in line? And what's interesting is that she was only allowed to cut in line 60% of the time at that point. Now, what's funny about that is that it proves this one, if you don't ask, you won't receive. So she was still able to cut in the line 60% of the time just by asking if she could cut in the front of the line, right? But she didn't give a reason. So the difference between not giving a reason and even a weak reason was a 30% higher success rate, right? So what you need to do, instead of asking a client and saying, hey, will you leave me a review? And they say, sure. You say, okay, thanks. What you need to do is you need to say something that actually gives them a reason why they need the review and how the review benefits other people. So I always recommend something like, hiring a lawyer is one of the most difficult decisions that anyone could ever make in their life. It impacts their entire life. And a lot of times people, they don't know who to turn to. Like you didn't know who to turn to. So reviews and stories and testimonials from clients like you who have had a great experience with our firm actually go on to help potentially thousands of people because it helps them make a decision, probably one of the most important decisions of their life. So I would really appreciate it if you would go on here and tell your story so that you can help hundreds, potentially thousands of people make one of the most difficult decisions of their life. You see how that would maybe be a little bit more impactful and get somebody to actually write the review, right? So again, just using simple psychology, right? Another thing is too many obstacles. So I bought a Ford Expedition about 5 years ago, and I would have never thought that I would buy a Ford Expedition, because I've always thought that Ford stood for found on road dead, or fix or repair daily, right? But what happened was I ended up on one of those lists where basically I entered my number somewhere and they figured out that I was looking for a large SUV. So the Ford dealership called me. They said, hey, listen, I saw you're looking for an SUV. I'd love to come by, drop off an Expedition. We'll take your car back to the dealership. You can drive this car for the entire weekend, and then we'll tell you how much yours is worth, and you don't have to do anything. Fast forward to Monday afternoon, and I'm signing the paperwork in my kitchen for my brand new Ford Expedition. And the reason why is because they made it so easy. They made it more difficult not to buy the car than to buy the car, right? So if you to ask someone to leave you a review and then you leave it on them to do all the work, they're not gonna do it. They're just not gonna do it. People are lazy, right? Well, maybe not lazy, but they've got other things that they're worried about, and your review is not something they're worried about. So what you need to do is you need to go to Google. You need to find your Google My Business profile. Just Google yourself, click the write a review button. There's gonna be a link that pops up. Once the light box pops up, grab that link and send it to them with the email. That is the best way to do it. Another thing you can do is you can take that exact link, you can put it on a QR code. Just go to Google, take that link, Google QR code generator, and then you can blow that link up and have a giant QR code sitting in your lobby that people can just walk up to, scan, and leave a review. Now, if you do that, make sure you do not give out the Wi-Fi password to your office Wi-Fi, because you don't want them to be on your Wi-Fi while they're leaving a review, right? So that's one of the best ways to do that. And just send them directly to the review page. Make sure that you send it to a Gmail account if possible, because they have to be logged into Google anyway. So again, just you want to take away as many steps from them as possible. So if you send it directly to them, you give them a reason, and then you also explain to them why it's important, you will get so many more reviews, it's not even funny, right? Now, let me ask you a question. Who here wants to learn how to ethically pay for reviews? Show me your hand if you want to know how to ethically pay for reviews. All right, so I used to give the advice that you should give out like an Outback Steakhouse gift card or something like that, because let's be honest, there's not much people won't do for a bloomin' onion, right? So the reality is that I used to give that advice. I used to say, go get Starbucks gift cards and give them out. And I used to get pushback because apparently it's not ethical, right? So I'm not telling you to do that, even though it works really, 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 really well. But anyway, don't do that. Do not do that. But here's what you can do. And this is something that I learned from Ben Glass when he was helping me write 5-Star Attorney, which you guys should all have a copy of 5-Star Attorney in your bags. What you can do is you can incentivize your staff. So pay your staff $50 or $100 or whatever you have to do to get them to give you reviews, because this solves the problem of there's nothing in it for me, right? When someone is incentivized to leave you a review, you are much more likely to get the review. So everyone here who calculated that number, I think I heard $2,200, I heard $1,100. What if you gave your staff $100 every single time that they were responsible for getting you a Google review? What's great about that is that they're helping you grow the law firm. So this is not an expense, this is an investment, right? You get this, and then what happens is the staff then can increase their salary. If you're having an administrative assistant, if you're having a paralegal do this, I mean, what's their salary? $40,000 to maybe $90,000. An extra $100, $200, $300 a week would do a lot to increase their morale, and it would also help your law firm. Everybody wins in that scenario. So incentivize your staff, right? Now, the other thing is a lot of times people wait until the case is over to ask for a review. Who here only asks for reviews? Show your hands if you wait until the case is over. Okay, so there's plenty of opportunities where you can ask for reviews before the case is over. So anytime you provide any sort of value, whether they're a client or not, let's say you talk to somebody on a consultation. Who here asks for a review after a consultation? Anyone? All right, you guys are ahead of the game. Anyone else who's not doing that, that's a great opportunity. If you provide value during your consultation, whether they hire you or not, you can say, hey, listen, I'd really appreciate it. If you got any value out of this, we just want people to know that if they call us and have questions, we'll be happy to answer them and help them solve their problems, whether they hire us or not. I think I actually got that from Ben. I think that came from you, Ben. But if you use that line, you can get reviews then. You can also get reviews from friends and family members, I call these character reviews, right? Because there's a lot of practice areas where people just don't want to leave reviews. Like a lot of things are embarrassing, like family law or divorce or criminal defense, right? That doesn't mean you can just say, okay, I'm not gonna get reviews. You have to still get reviews. So one of the ways that you can get a lot of reviews is from friends and family members, and I call them character reviews. So I do this a lot for lawyers. What I do is I'll leave a review that'll say, fortunately, I've never been in a car accident, but if I was ever in a car accident in Virginia, Ben Glass is the first person I would call. He is knowledgeable, he knows the law, and he cares about his clients. You can leave reviews like that, and there's nothing wrong with those types of reviews. And that's a good way for you to get more reviews. It doesn't say client reviews, it just says reviews, right? Next question. Who here has gotten a negative review that they did not deserve before? Raise your hands. That's it? The rest of you are lying? All right. So here's the thing, right? Negative reviews. Everybody's afraid of a negative review. And actually, we did a survey one time where I surveyed 27,000 lawyers, and I found that most lawyers don't ask for any reviews at all because they're afraid of getting a negative review. Has anyone ever not asked for reviews because you're afraid of getting negative reviews? All right, let me tell you something. Negative reviews are not inherently bad, right? In fact, there's an interesting study where 66% of people said that they don't believe positive reviews if there are no negative reviews in existence, right? So if you've got 500 5-star reviews and no negative reviews, people don't believe you. You have to have negative reviews, because is anyone in here other than me perfect? Back there, all right. Us, we're good. All right, cool. So nobody's perfect, even shockingly myself, right? So the reality is that nobody's perfect. Imperfect people run law firms. So negative things are going to happen. There's no company out there that is going to have 100% customer service. But the thing you have to remember is, the thing you have to ask yourself is the reviewer right? Because here's what's interesting is that they did a study where, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Forrester, did a study where they surveyed a bunch of companies, and these companies reported that 80% of them felt that they delivered a superior customer experience. Then they went and surveyed the customers of those companies, and they found that only 8% of customers felt that these companies delivered a superior experience. This is called the delivery gap, right? And it is a very real thing. So what you have to understand is that one negative review, and I'm not talking about the people that you've never heard of, that they've never been a client, or maybe it was an opposing counsel or opposing party or anything like that. What I'm talking about is somebody leaves you a review that says, I called the office and the person who answered the phone was really short with me and really rude, so I decided not to hire them. Those are the things, and problems, like legitimate problems, you need to ask yourself, is the reviewer correct? Is there actually a problem? Because what you have to understand is that one review represents 20 negative experiences. Only 5% of people complain publicly. So if you get one review that actually talks about something that's not right with your law firm, there's a good chance there's 20 people out there that also had that same problem. Now here's the other thing. Every person that has a negative experience with a business, on average, tells 12 people. So potentially you could have that one review could basically mean there's 240 people out there that have a negative impression of your law firm, right? So what you need to do is you need to think, is the reviewer actually correct? There's a personal injury attorney, his name's John Fisher. Is John Fisher here, by the way? I don't see John. Okay, so John, I interviewed John for my book, and he told me this really cool story where basically they did a great job with the personal injury side of things, but then after the case was over, the office dropped the ball on the probate stuff, and it was a problem, and he didn't realize it was a problem until he got some feedback that people were not happy about the probate side. So what did he do? He had two options. He could basically either call them a liar and say that they're crazy, or he could self-reflect and realize, okay, yeah, this is something we need to fix. So he went ahead, he hired a probate attorney. Now there's no problem anymore, right? So you can actually use negative reviews to fix problems. There's an author named Jay Baer, and he says to get fewer negative reviews, you need to get more negative reviews, because if you don't know what the problem is, then you can't fix the problem, right? So it's super, super important. So the other thing is that, who here has a negative review that you have not responded to? Does anyone have a negative review that has not been responded to? Okay, just a few. So if you get a negative review, you always want to respond to the negative review for two reasons. The first reason is perception. No response is a response. If there's negative reviews on there and you're not responding, then somebody is actually checking out your law firm, and that is going to be what they see. They're going to see they got a negative review and they didn't say anything, right? So the other thing is that we have tested this, my SEO company, we've tested this, and there is actually a correlation when people have a large percentage of unresponded to negative reviews, it actually hurts your Google rankings. And Google doesn't tell you much about their ranking algorithm. They do tell you about responding to reviews. So you should respond to all reviews, and you should absolutely respond to every single negative review that you get. It gives you a good chance to show your empathy and also increase advocacy. Now, there's a strategy that I use called the tiers model when responding to a negative review. So here's what's interesting. First of all, has anyone ever seen Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay? Has anyone ever seen that? Do you guys, anyone know Amy's Baking Company? Do you remember that episode, Olivia? All right, if you guys want to laugh at how not to handle negative feedback, go to YouTube and search Kitchen Nightmares and just watch the Amy's Baking Company episode. It's insane. But basically, I had a client one time, actually it wasn't a client, it was an attorney who commented when I was doing a video about responding to negative reviews. And he said, you shouldn't apologize, you should fight back, because people want a lawyer that fights for them. They want a lawyer that fights, right? And I agree, people do want a lawyer that fights, but they don't want a lawyer that fights with their clients. They want a lawyer that fights for their clients, right? And I mean, I think you guys probably agree with that. So here's what I do. It's called the tiers method. The first part of the tiers method is thank them for their feedback. So say, thank you so much for providing your feedback. We value all feedback, both positive and negative. The second thing is empathize with their situation. I understand that, per your comments, there's obviously been some frustration from your end, and we would love to help you resolve it. Apologize for the frustration. I'm sorry you feel this way, and we would love to come to a resolution. Show a willingness to resolve, and then switch the channel. So what you want to do is you want to say, we would love to talk to you and come to an amicable solution or figure out a way to work this out. What I'd like you to do is please send me an email or shoot me a text message or give me a call at the office, and we'll sit down, we'll talk about it, we'll figure out how to resolve your problem, right? Now, here's what I want you to remember. That response is not for the person that left you the review. That response is for the hundreds or potentially thousands of people that are going to see that review when they're Googling your law firm. If somebody leaves you something and it's you calling them an idiot and a liar and all that type of stuff, you're gonna look bad. Does anyone here watch NFL football? Anybody, or college football? Who gets in trouble more? The person who made the first hit or the retaliation? What gets the flag? The retaliation gets the flag, right? You're not gonna look good, so take the high road, right? That's what you have to make sure to do, right? Now, okay, I got a few minutes left here. And then if they respond to you also, then you want to invite them to, so if they leave a negative review and then you respond to them and then they respond again, you want to make it very short and say, please contact me in the office so we can talk about the matter. If they respond again, then you don't respond again. The third time is the harm. Just remember that. Because you don't want to get into a public argument with a client. It's not a good look, right? So now, who here wants to know how my company removes 75% of the negative reviews that our clients get? Does anyone want to know the strategy that we use? That's it? All right, the people who raise their hand, come over here. I'll tell you in secret. Does anybody want to know? Raise your hand if you want to know. All right, here's what you do. Now this works 75% of the time. It doesn't work all the time because at the end of the day, it's up to Google, right? But if you get a negative review, the first step, and by the way, if you go to andysfreedownload.com, I'll give you a script that'll show you exactly how to do this, right? It's a guide that shows you exactly what I'm about to tell you how to do. So the first thing you do is you want to flag it from as many private Google accounts as possible. You're going to go to the review, you're going to click report as inappropriate, and they're kind of vague answers. So what you want to do is you want to basically just pick the one that's closest to maybe making sense, right? And then you want to respond to the review. And we always try to flag it from at least 10 to 20 Google accounts, like private Google accounts. So if you use Google, like G Suite or Google Workspace or whatever they call it now, don't use those accounts. Use your private Gmail accounts, and you can have staff, you can have friends, you can have anyone do that, right? Then what you want to do is you want to respond to the review using the tiers model that I just told you about. And then you want to wait 72 hours. Now, during this 72-hour time period, you want to do two things. The first thing you want to do is you want to click on their profile and you want to look and see if anything about their profile looks unnatural. Do they have reviews for like law firms all over the country? Do they have reviews for things that just don't make sense? You can typically tell if someone's a real person or not, and you want to note that. The other thing you want to do is you want to go to Google and you want to search Google review guidelines, right? And what you want to do is you want to find some sort of guideline that you can argue that they violated. Whether they did or not, you need to find something that you can argue that they violated. You guys are lawyers, be creative. We have never not been able to figure out a way to argue that, right? So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna call Google. Now, the way that you get Google's phone number is you go to Google Ads and you go to the support section. They have a phone number in there. You can call Google support. One of the options is Google Local, right? So then what you do is you get somebody on the phone and you do this 72 hours after responding. And you start your conversation with my favorite life hack of all time. You open and you say, I need your help, right? Customer service people are getting yelled at over and over and over again all day long. So if you approach with you're polite and you say, listen, I really need your help. Somebody left us this review. We don't know who they are. They clearly are a fake account. You know, you state all your evidence, and then you also show them how it violates their terms of service. So if you do that, then they will escalate the review and they'll review it. And I'm telling you, 75% of the time, we get the review removed. Doesn't happen 100% of the time, because at the end of the day, somebody at Google actually has to look at it. But if you say you need their help, you go through that entire process, it works a lot. So anyway, so again, you can get that script at andysfreedownload.com. Thank you guys so much. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be 9 o'clock. I'm gonna be teaching you guys 5 ways to 5x your law firm's revenue. It's a method I have called the 5x5 method. And I'm gonna show you 5 simple moves that you can make. It's gonna be at 9 o'clock in one of the rooms. I'm gonna show you how to 5x your law firm's revenue. Thanks, guys.